Welcome to another off-panel interview brought to you by the Indie Corner. I'm Mikey, and joining me today is for our first ever off-panel interview of 2025. It's a familiar face because we actually had him on our Sinners review. If you haven't checked out our review for Sinners, check out. I'll put it in the corner up top. But yeah, man, we're here with back again with a friend of the channel, friend of mine, newfound friend of mine. Even though I've known his work for the past I think several years now. Through our mutual friend Sean and the Zion Network, but he's a writer, he's an artist, former tattoo artist, right? I believe. Based out of the ATL is your boy. Welcome back, our boy Keef Cross. How you doing, Keef?
Hey, how you doing, Mike? Thanks for having me again.
Oh man, thank you for joining me, man. Listen, as I said off camera, I felt so bad keeping you hostage for like almost 3 hours talking Sinners, but I love the conversation so much, and I also being a fan of your work, for these past few years. I need to have you back on, man. So it's a pleasure to have you back as always, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, man. So listen, every time we do I do an interview, we always try to do kind of like an icebreaker question. Pretty simple. So Keith, I just want to know right quick, what's your comic book origin story? How do you discover your love of comics growing up?
Man, that's a good question. So I will say the first time I think I ever saw a comic book that really caught my attention was, it may have been in a library at my school or somewhere. It was a public place, but it was Giant Size X-Men #1. And it was like the little novel size, still a comic book, but it was like a novel size. And I read that, and that piqued my interest. But it wasn't until I read it was Chris Claremont's run, and I forget what issue it was, but it was the X-Men. And at the same time, this is like in the late 80s, like maybe 88, 89. Mm-hmm. So I'm listening to like Public Enemy, I'm listening to like Brand New, and I'm listening to all of this like really pro-black hip-hop music. So when I read X-Men for the first time, I immediately saw the correlation between mutants and black people and how they were treated in the parallel. So that immediately drew me into it. Mm-hmm. And then when I saw Storm with the Mohawk, that was it. Yeah. And on top of that, and how I got that is, and this is a classic tale, I think a lot of people can probably relate to this, is my mom had a next door neighbor whose son went to college, and he just left these like maybe 5 or 6 long boxes of comics. Just a bunch of random books from X-Men to Avengers to Better Ray Bill to Archie to Ninja Turtles, anything you could think of. I just had a random mix. But X-Men was the one that I gravitated towards the most.
I got you.
The sense of them being outcast and being oppressed. And I really liked how they used mutants as being oppressed, because you didn't have to be black. Like, if you were black, white, no matter what your race was, if you were a mutant, they were treating you the same way as if you were a black person. And I like how they really just used that real life situation to bring it in the comics. So that's what drew me in.
I got you. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Where I was thinking the same thing when you mentioned you listen to Brand Nubian, Public Enemy stuff, where they're like avidly talking about what it's like being black in America and the oppression of black people, and then you immediately made that correlation of oh yeah, mutants are an allegory for the oppressed, for the ostracized, but not just for black people, but any ostracized or oppressed community, LGBT people, any people of color really. But I love how he made that connection immediately, which is great when it comes to reading Claremont's X-Men or even anything earlier than that.
Yeah, and that's really like even the thing. And I know Greg Elisa, he hates this when I talk about Magneto and Malcolm, Martin Luther King and Professor X, but I saw that shit immediately. Like, as soon as I read their dynamics and just saw this is before social media, of course, before any of that, anybody else think this, I immediately came to think that to myself. So that's why I feel like no matter what Stanley says, no matter what they intended, for me, that's what resonated with me. And that's what good art does,
Absolutely. And I love that piece you always done. I always look at that piece a lot, especially with Malcolm X's birthday just passing, last week, 2 weeks ago. I love that piece you do with Malcolm X with the Magneto helmet. It's fire. It's so dope.
Call it Magnegro. And I sold a bunch of those too, man. Like, people were buying that one up. So that was
Yeah,
cool.
I got to do one for myself at some point. You know, I was like, I got mad inspired with that. But yeah, so you said mostly X-Men. And the thing is, like, I know you mostly do like you're more the indie self-published route, right? But my follow-up question to that, right? So if any, say you got a chance from say like Marvel, DC to do something with one of their characters, what characters would you love to, like, you know, do a book or something with if you got the opportunity to?
Man, I would have to think about who I would
Picking your
enjoy.
brain right now.
I would love to do, because my three favorite characters are Storm, Wolverine, and Nightcrawler. Like that's my trio of favorites. But then I think about who would I have fun drawing the most. Kurt is my favorite. Like Nightcrawler is my favorite character out of everybody. So I think it would be him. But then to have a chance to draw Storm, like I don't think I'd be able to turn that down, man, because I think I could really bring something special to her. So I would say Storm. If I had to pick anybody, I would say Storm. I'm trying to think. Is anybody else that's not so cliche? Of course, the black comic book artist wants to draw Storm. I'm trying to think of but it's hard, man. She's hard to top, man.
Any non-X-Men? Any non-X-Men characters?
Non-X-Men characters.
Yeah.
Max.
Oh wow, okay.
Max, I always loved him as a kid. Who else do I like? I like I like Gateway, but he's like an old aberration.
I got you.
I like Gambit. But yeah, those are the top. And also, I also used to read a lot of underground '70s comics too, like Robert Crumb, Von Bode, a lot of those guys, a lot of that raunchy '70s stuff, like Fritz the Cat, like all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like probably way younger than I should have, and that definitely influenced my aesthetic. Also, another comic that was hugely influential is ElfQuest by
I'm forgetting the name of it. I don't tip my tongue, but I know of course I know ElfQuest.
I have them all.
Oh wow, okay. So you a fan. All right.
So I would say that artistically and storytelling wise, that book was probably the most influential. And it's crazy because I met them at a con, the wife and the husband.
Yeah, bro. I got a Richard and Wendy Peeney. There we go.
I met them at a con. I was at the same. This was a dream come true. I was at it was called Dink, and it was in Denver, Colorado. They flew me out, put me out in the hotel and everything. And I was on the bill with Ralph Bakshi. I was on the bill with Wendy and Richard Peeney. So I was like, I'm good. Like I'm on the bill with my Titans, you know what I'm saying? So I met them. I stood in a long line. I was watching everybody up there. Everybody's like, I'm standing in line waiting. I'm cool. Like I'm like, this ain't nothing. I can't. Got my books. When I tell you, when I finally talked to them, a grown man I just burst, like tears just burst out my head, man. Like I can't even describe it, but I wasn't expecting it. Like I see how people can fan out. Like if somebody really affected you or had an influence in your life, and when you meet them, like they look like fanatics on TV, but when you really meet them, you never really gonna know how you gonna react, and all that pent up admiration just comes out, you know. And I was slobbering, like I was ugly crying, man. Like get up at the table and like console me, and I'm this big black dude in a room full of white people, and they just what's wrong with him? I was like, I love y'all so much, man. Y'all don't know what y'all. But so that was a highlight, man. That was a highlight. It's always cool to meet them, and they were very cool. They took DayBlack and they did a review for it on their website.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I've never thing is like I've known ElfQuest, never really got a chance to read any because I can't grab any copies, you know.
Yeah.
But know of Wendy and Richard's, you know, accolades and their success. I would not expect that. Like knowing especially what you do with DayBlack, I would never have expected ElfQuest.
I never would have got into them, but they had black elves.
Oh, so okay.
That's what's up. They had black elves, and the black elves and the white elves were having interracial elf kids, and I was like, oh, okay. And they looked interracial, and it was just, I've never seen nothing like that. I've never seen no black elf. know what I'm saying? The black elves lived in the desert, the white elves lived in the forest, and it just made sense. And I was like, this is, and then of course the story, it's incredible. It's an incredible book, man. I'm just surprised it's not more mainstream, but it's amazing.
I got you. And definitely, I think I want to see some Storm art, man. I want to see you touch Storm, Nightcrawler, all the X-Men, really. You know, I want to see that happen, especially with your style. I want to see that happen. Marvel, listen, if you're watching this, clearly hire this man to do a cover or something.
Yeah, I would be so scared, man, if they do that, because I don't know. I would just be so intimidated just by that whole history and just. Whoa. And I was like, but then at the same time, I feel like that a lot of times when I get offered projects, but then I always have to tell myself, because you always kind of get like imposter syndrome, you know what I'm saying? But then I just remind myself, they asked you. So if people are asking me, that means that they see something in me that I might not even see, but I just need to trust them, even if I don't trust myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's always taken me far, you know?
Absolutely. But yeah, man. All right. So we got the icebreaker stuff out the way. We found out you're a low-key ElfQuest fan.
High key, man.
High key. All right.
ElfQuest is low-key, but I'm high-key a fan. You
know? But yeah, so real quick. So next thing I want to ask you, bro. Because one of the things that, like, when I was doing research and, you know, listening to interviews, and obviously when we had you on Zion, like way back on the Zion Variety Show, Sean also mentioned, you know, talked about how you were a tattoo artist. Back in the, you're not anymore. I believe you're retired. Like you're left in the past. You're good. You know, too much trauma.
I do it every now and then. Like if the price is right, I'll do it. But as far as just day to day, no, I don't do it anymore.
Yeah. So let me know, how did you get into tattooing? Like how did that start? You know.
Okay. Yeah. So I had just graduated. Well, I didn't graduate, but I had just left art school. I was done. And
what did you study? What would you?
In Columbus, Ohio, Columbus College of Art and Design.
Okay.
Went up there for about 3 years. My senior year, I made a mistake, and like throughout my whole 3 years prior to that, I dropped all of my academic classes. I put them to the side, took all the classes I wanted to take them. By the time it's my final year, all I had was all these academic classes I had to take. So I'm like, you know what?
Oh yeah, like your gen eds. Yeah.
I was like art history. I'm like, you know what? I'm good. So I went ahead, and at the same time, I also had my first child. So it was just time for me to leave. So headed back to Atlanta, and I was staying with my mom. And my mom has this thing where she'll keep a book. Like she had a box of all my drawings in her trunk. She would keep this in her trunk at all times for whenever we might run into somebody that knew how to draw or that worked at an art gallery. She was like, hey, my son can draw. Here's his drawing. So she did this for this one guy who she found out he was a tattoo artist. So she showed him my work, and then he called me the next day. He was like, hey, you want to apprentice? You want to learn? I can teach you. You're really good. And I was like, all right, cool. Never thought about doing a tattoo, never even wanted any tattoos. But I did start an apprenticeship. And I got paid, and I think I tattooed for like a whole year before I even got my first tattoo. Like I was the only tattoo artist that didn't have any tattoos because I felt like I shouldn't have to get them just because, you know, I'm an artist. I should be able to do it without necessarily having to get them. But I was wrong because when you're inflicting pain on people and you don't know what that pain feels like, you don't have any empathy for what they're going through. So I had to get that ink myself to really feel for what my customers were going through and make their experience a little bit better. Because I'm just like going in like wiping hard, like all of that. But once you get it, you have more compassion. Like, are you okay? You need some water? You to slow down?
That empathy helps.
Yeah, it helps. You know? So that's how I got into it, from my mom being a super supportive mother, my biggest cheerleader. Always supportive. It's just like when people always, or like the cliche when people are like, or people say a lot, like people always said I wasn't going to be shit, or my teachers always said, or people, you know, there's always this narrative that people like were always against them or didn't believe in them. And my story is always the opposite. Like everybody's always been in my corner, man. Like I've always had a strong support system for my art, like from my teachers to my friends. Like everybody's always been rooting for me, and I'm really fortunate for that. And I feel bad when people don't have that, because I feel like that could really affect your personal your personal outlook on your talent if the people that you love and have around you don't support you. You know what I'm saying? So having that support really meant the most whereas I wasn't seeking the support of everybody else because I had the essentials that I needed, you know.
Absolutely. Shout out to moms, man. Cause my mom also was like my biggest cheerleader as well, man. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, shout out to moms, man. But yeah, that's what's up, and it's nice to hear because like, because I'm not like, I've been told by many people that I should like dip my toe into doing tattoos. I love the art form of tattoos. Like I love watching videos and stuff. I'm a huge like Ink Master fan. I love low key love Ink Master a lot. But I don't think I could ever do it just because I'm terrified of like it's skin, it's permanent. Now I mean with pencil, I can erase. If it's digital, I can hit undo. But always love the art form. But I think it's very interesting where it's like a lot. There was one guy, was a scenario. There was one guy on Ink Master, I think it was season 2 or 3, who is a tattoo artist and is a good one, but he did not have any tattoos and he was getting a lot of flack from everybody else, especially one of the judges, because he didn't have tattoos. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about?
Wait. No, I'm thinking about the guy that couldn't draw, but he could only copy what he could see.
Oh,
he didn't draw outside of anything. And everybody was like, "How you?" He's what you call a flash artist. He could copy exactly what you want off the paper, but he can't do you anything custom. You know, which
I think it was the same guy.
It was a white guy, like tall
guy. Yeah, always wore like a tie and a shirt all the time.
Yeah, that's the
same guy. Yeah.
And you know what? Of Ink Master, I just got to say, did you see that picture I uploaded recently about my friend that just passed away? It was he was on Ink Master. His name is Corey David. I just want to shout him out since we're talking about Ink Master, but he was on Ink Master too.
So I remember him actually. Yeah, shout out to him, man. Great artist too.
Yeah, he was.
Great artist too. But yeah, man. All right. So tattooing stuff out of the way. That's what's up. All right. So now we're gonna get into actually before we even get into DayBlack, I just wanted to know because obviously you've been with DayBlack, you've been like pretty much. I know you were with Rosarium Publishing for it, right? For the first 2 volumes, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously you've been self-publishing it yourself. I just wanted to know real quick, just to get more insight. I mean, at least your perspective on it. What are like, some pros to self-publishing your own work, and what are some cons as well? Like break it down for me. Give me some of your perspective on it.
The pros of self-publishing. I would have to say
there aren't any.
I'm about to say, you get to keep all the money. You know what I'm saying? You get to keep all your money. That is definitely the pro. Honestly, I can't. That's it, man. If I had the choice, I would much rather prefer to be published, simply because I work better and more efficiently if I have a deadline. If I have someone making, I'm getting the work done. The publisher also came with an editor. Shout out to Bill Campbell. That was
shout out to Bill Campbell.
Yeah, that Bill. I learned a lot from Bill as far as like initially when I met Bill, he reached out to me on Facebook after I was just uploading random pages, and he was just like, "You ever want to make this into a book?" And I was like, "Yeah, I thought about it." He was like, "You want me to? I could publish it or such and such." And I was like, "All right, cool." But he was like, because at first DayBlack was really kind of adult, you know what I'm saying? Like I had like full on sex scenes, like it was crazy. It was like
crazy,
empire orgies, all kind of stuff. But Bill was like, so you got to decide what kind of publisher or what kind of author you want to be. Do you want to have your books in the front with all the rest of the comic books, or do you want it to be in the back behind the curtain with the adult mags? And I was like, that's a good point, man. So I learned a lot from him in that aspect. Also learned how to stretch a story out, like just as far. And another thing about having a publisher and also having an editor in general, I think is so important to have an editor who aligns with you, because you have to find somebody that's not going to edit things out that are representative of your style and of your voice. Like you don't want to edit your voice and your perspective out of your own work. So I think me and Bill had a good connection with there, because he was already kind of with me ideology wise. And I thought we was a pretty good team, man. So I would say definitely publishing over non-publishing for a person that may have the bandwidth to do all of the things that need to be done as a self-publisher, and me myself, since I really create as I'm feeling it, and which can be months at a time. I may not feel like doing anything, and that's not going to work if you're going to be a successful comic book artist. But I approach DayBlack as a piece of art or a painting. So I finish it when I'm finished with it, and then I put it out to the world when it's done. I'm not necessarily on a schedule. Not to say that I wouldn't want to be, but that's just not where I'm at with it right now. You know.
I got you. Would you ever like consider in the future doing like do it like publishing with a publisher, or you just want to
Yeah,
stay self-published for right now?
absolutely.
Mhm.
I just haven't because I haven't sought it out. Like I haven't really tried. I haven't really looked for. I haven't really been looking for it. I think part of me is scared to get published.
Yeah.
Maybe scared of the work that I may need to do. I may have gotten complacent in my freedom. You know what I'm saying, of working when I want to. So that's crazy. These are things that I've never said out loud, and are just kind of coming.
Mm,
Now that I hear myself saying it, it's probably true. You know.
yeah.
Wow.
I got you. That's the thing. It's just taking that leap. You'll never know, what the opportunity will bring unless you take the opportunity. So, and that's scary. And I agree with you. It is a scary feeling to be like, oh, like, am I good enough to even be accepted by like Image or like Dark Horse? Know what I mean? Like, but again,
No,
you never know unless you take that leap. Know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I really feel like I have a good chance, especially with my newest issue, Reparations. I feel like that's the best representation of me as an artist right now.
Bro.
So I really feel confident if I sent that to anybody. I mean, I'm not gonna get too cocky, but I feel like I
Yeah.
have a than I did before I did it, before I did that particular issue.
Just a little humble. Just a little humble there.
Just a little, yeah. Totally.
But yeah, we'll talk about Reparations because I agree with you. It is some of the best work I've ever seen from you.
Oh,
And it's great. But yeah, shout out to Bill Campbell as well because I met Bill last year at Blurred. You know, the Blurred that I don't know if you remember. Were you there last year
there, yeah.
Yep, so you know how that went. But yeah, I met him last year. And
That's where I met you. That's where I met
you.
you.
Yeah, and that's where we met. Yeah, so yeah, it was but yeah, Bill's good people. Bill's good people.
Yes.
Yeah, so shout out to him and Rosarian Publishing for sure. All right, so yeah, follow up question because you were mentioning your artwork and your style, and I think it's like I feel like with your style, like I've never seen like anything like it in terms of like graphic novel, comic book wise, because I know you mentioned like some of your Brian Stelfreeze being an influence, and now I can see that going in with looking at your art, and then like Mignola being an influence, but I want to just know real quick, like how did you develop it, and like what other influences did you take? Because when I look at your art a lot, and knowing me, like my background, being my folks being from Tanzania, East Africa, I always see African sculptures and paintings, like like that kind of style in your work, like a lot. Like that's what shines through the most every time I see your stuff, which gravitates to me more because I've never seen a graphic like a comic illustrator. You take that style from that side of the aisle, implemented into their own work. I think it's crazy. So I just want to know what some other influences you got? How do you develop the style?
Man, honestly, whenever people tell me that, and I hear that a lot, like they say, like your faces, they look like African masks, and I think that's just the ancestors coming through, man. Because I don't really have anything directly that I looked at and was like tried to emulate. Most of my influences don't really look anything like what I do. Brother Man Comics, I forgot to mention.
Shout out to Dawood, man.
Yeah,
I know on that relay, he's a legend.
Yeah, I think that's the first comic I read where I felt like I felt like I could make a comic that was relatable to my people without being stereotypical. Like it felt like you knew it felt like you knew that world, you knew those characters. It was so personable, man. It just was. It resonates to this day, man. So shout out to Dawood, man.
I'm always jealous of people that have actually physically touched like big city comics from back then because I was born too late. I missed it. So so I can't. And they're hard to buy. Like I don't think they've ever been republished unless the new book he dropped like recently. So I can only hear stories or look at videos or look at images. I can't physically read them. So
right, yeah. You had to find them. Like I think you would find them everywhere. You find them in like beauty supply stores. You find them in like black bookstores that only sold like like the autobiography of Malcolm X, like those type of bookstores. So you couldn't Walden book. Oh, that's probably too old to go back. But I forgot what we talking about, man. What was the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Other influences, like other influences. How do you develop your style?
Man, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I've been drawing like that really stark black and white from volume 1 and volume 2. I've been drawing like that since college. I I just remember being in college and I was just surrounded by these incredible artists, and I just wanted to stand out, and I just wanted something that was unique, because when I was going to school, like, everybody was doing anime, and anime was kind of new, and like everybody was doing it, which in turn turned it off for me. Like, even today, I don't really mess with it that much, just because and you know, like, back then I was kind of like, because there were black students there, and the black students, that's all they would draw was anime, and but none of them would be black. Like, they would just be like, their sketchbooks would be full of just like white anime characters, Japanese, like nobody was black. And I was like, hey, so I got a little turned off from anime in general because of that, even though that's not anime's fault, even though, you know, they do have a history of racism with black people anyway. So but anyway, damn, I be rambling, man. I get off track so quick.
No, that's all good. It's all good. I do too. It's fun.
Right. So I knew that I wanted to do something not that. I really enjoy darkness, contrast. So that's where I really got inspired by Mike Mignola, because his use of shadows and just simplicity of being so simple but so detailed, and
the simpleness, the color blocking, like the German expressionism, like that chiaroscuro, like it's crazy how effective he is with what little elements he puts into his work. His style is crazy. So I understand, bro. I understand.
And so him and who else? Yeah, Mike Mignola was a big one. Oh man, Barry Windsor Smith.
Oh shoot!
Like, as far as my hatching and the way I like the
I can see it.
Cross hatching, huge influence, man. When I read his Weapon X series, man, I was like, it doesn't get no better than this, man. Like,
Weapon X is crazy.
Exo Man of War, Solar, all Barry Windsor stuff was a huge influence on me. Jim Lee is the first time I ever drew something on my own. It was a cover of Uncanny X-Men. It was Wolverine leaping through the air, slashing Mandarin through the chest. It's like an iconic, like Wolverine.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first time I physically drew something just by looking at it and realized that I could draw, after tracing for so many years, just telling people, yeah, I drew this, but I was just tracing stuff, you know.
I got you.
But yeah, as far as that particular style, I don't know. But then when I started tattooing, that also kind of influenced my style, as far as the way I would, as far as like compositions, like, because when you're doing design and stuff, like, the whole point is to make something look good on somebody's body. So I kind of took that approach, as far as making sure all of the frames were just really detailed and just flowing. It's just a lot of different influences just kind of get rolled into one, with that just mix in with your own, like, DNA sensibilities of how you perceive or how you regurgitate or spit out art. Like, from films to, like, Tarantino was a huge influence. When I saw Pulp Fiction, that's where that's when I made a distinguish between movies and film.
And films.
Okay. Where I wanted to be a filmmaker. I actually went to art school to be a filmmaker, but it turned out to be so expensive, I couldn't do it. So I had to focus on illustration. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do this comic book, but this comic book is basically just going to be a storyboard for the film I'm going to make, which, because DayBlack, it was always intended for it to be a film. Like, I never draw comics. I never wanted to be a comic book artist just for the sake of doing comics. It's always been an end game of this being a film, because I wanted to be a filmmaker. So that was my way to do it.
I got you. Yeah, film's also a big influence on me too. I'm a huge cinephile. Like, I love film, love watching how films are made, the behind the scenes stuff. I'm a huge film guy, so I get that. And like, when it comes to, like, and also just to add, every time I also see your work, and I had another question where, like, I've completely just skipped over it, about like what, like, you know, how did tattooing affect your style? Like, I do see like aspects of like American traditional style of tattooing in your work a little bit, or like a little bit of like new score, a little bit of like magic realism or stuff like that. So I do like the fact that, like, you know, tattooing gave you a little more perspective that you could use. I would take a little bit from here, maybe take a little bit from there, and implement that to what your style is going to look like. Also, as well, was like, you know, outside of comic books, in terms of like comic book illustration or whatnot, but like, I don't know why, but like, I always get like, every time I see your stuff, I'm like, it looks like Like it's like I don't know if you're familiar with an artist named Lynn Ward. Like he was like a printmaking artist from like the early 1900s, but like he pretty much would carve stencils out and then just ink them and just print them. Like it looks like every time I see the way you panel things, like way your composition is, it looks like you print them out like old fashioned printmaking.
And a lot of people say they look like woodcuts.
Woodcuts. Yep.
Yeah, and I used to also do that too as an artist.
That's what's up.
Yeah, I wasn't doing DayBlack when I was doing. I did it like in high school. It was like something I used to like to do. Very painstaking, like carving out those things and then rolling.
I've done it.
Very painstaking, and
it's terrible.
You off on it, but yeah, I hear all of that, man. And like I said, I'm just a person that just all of my influences kind of come out one way or another.
Yeah.
And I try to utilize them as much as I can because it can get kind of stagnant. And that's one thing I was talking to Brian about this. I was saying how sometimes when you start doing something, or when your passion becomes your the way that you make a living, sometimes you can lose your passion for it and it just becomes a function. So like now it's like when I sit down to do DayBlack, it's like I already kind of know this is going to come out this way. I'm going to draw this. When it comes out, it's going to look like this. And it's good because it's consistent and you know what to expect. But from an artist's point of view, it's less fulfilling because there's no discovery and there's no adventure or there's no danger in that. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I miss, that I kind of traded out. Like even now, like I don't even read comic books like that anymore because whenever I sit down to read one, there's always a voice in the back of my mind like, what are you doing? You got your own book. Books to do right now. You reading this dude stuff, like what are you doing right now? So I put the book down, and I might not even work on my book. I'm just not going to read somebody else. I got stacks and stacks of comics that I have not read, but I support. But
absolutely,
I'm not going to read this, but I'm gonna buy it for you, my brother.
I have a bad habit of that too. I'm buying books these days, and I'm just supporting, and I'm just keeping them. Like I don't even, but I feel you on that. I feel you on that. And just random question before we go into the DayBlack stuff. Have you ever been to Africa at all? Because like, again, your artwork is so Afrocentric, and let's say you feel like they're calling up the ancestors. I'm like, I wonder if he's actually gone there to soak up the culture, to get some inspiration on the art.
I am not, but my wife practiced Yoruba, and so I've had readings with her before, and I've been told that I'm a medium through my art, and to speak through me, and I'm like, that makes sense because I've never purposely tried to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like I've never purposely tried to make my art look a certain way. Like it just comes out like even this guy behind me, like look at like all of that. I didn't purposely do that. That's just how it came out. But I would say I do purposely make all of my characters black. Like I don't like to say black art, but I make black art. Like I don't make art for black people, but I do. But I make it for everybody because everybody loves it. White people, even them, like they don't look at it exclusionary. They just like it. You know what I'm saying? So even with DayBlack, I think I was surprised because I went to another convention and they also flew me out.
Nice.
Yeah, this has only happened like twice, and it was both from white cons, like completely white cons.
Oh wow, okay.
And when I found myself out, they had me sign up for a panel. And they wanted me to do a reading of the book, and there was going to be a Q&A, but the panel was full of white soccer mom-looking ladies, man. Like all
that is crazy.
Were grilling me about DayBlack, like they knew it, and I was like, "Y'all are reading this shit, like really?" And I'm like, okay, I did something right, man. I mean, not to say it like that, but I never intentionally wanted to be like, oh, it's another slave story, or I never aimed for it to be exclusionary. And I didn't aim for it not to be necessarily either. I just did what I wanted to do. And I put ideas out there, but I don't preach. You know what I'm saying? I just lay my own opinions and my own viewpoints out there, but I never say this is the right or wrong way. This is just what it is in this world, And luckily people resonated with it, man.
That's what's up. That's crazy that like Pam, who is a stay-at-home mom, who was the president of her kids' PTA meetings, is a DayBlack fan. That's crazy. You never know. You never know how much reach you'll have.
Yeah, and then when you see what that reach is, it does influence. It does or inform your writing from that point on, because not change it, but you're just aware who's listening. So, like, I may add things that I may not have normally added just because I know who my audience is. but never abandoning what DayBlack is. You know,
Absolutely.
I say it like I got a book called DayBlack. Everybody in it, DayBlack. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, that's hit. Wow. Okay. That's funny. That's funny. But yeah, facts.
I love my people. I love my people.
As you should, man. As you should. And yeah, but like, yeah, I'm looking at because the whole interview, I'm sorry, like it's ADHD. I keep looking at that piece behind you because I love that piece. And then that elephant, like that's why I'm asking, like, you ever been to Africa? Because like I can see the Afro, like the Afrocentric, you know, stuff you put in your work. Like my mom would love that piece because like my mom's loves elephants. Like that is her thing. So like I keep thinking of that, you know, every time I keep looking at it. But yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Definitely,
all right.
Definitely want to go.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm not saying I'm about to be biased, but Tanzania is where it's at. I'm just saying.
Okay.
You know, everyone wants to go to Nigeria, but Tanzania is where it's at. but yeah, right. So let's get into DayBlack, man. So yeah, DayBlack, you know, the book that you created, it was back in like 2013, 2014, was it? All right, so around that time. That's when it was published. Okay.
I worked like prior to that, but that's when it was published. Yeah.
All right.
Comic strip, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And obviously it's with starring, like it's set in, you know, Georgia, where you're from, obviously, in a fictional town, DayBlack, which I love the concept of the town, how it's completely in darkness all the time because of this pollution, and it makes it a hub for vampires. It's really dope idea. And your main character Merce is you know, tattoo artist who was coincidentally a vampire living in this town. But yeah, man, this question is simple, man. Why vampires? Why that angle? Like, why make a vampire book? Like, tell me about it. What's your interest in vampires?
Actually, before DayBlack, none. I wasn't
really.
I'm gonna tell you how the whole thing sparked. I was watching Interview with a Vampire, and the original, not the AMC series, which I also love, but the one with Brad Pitt and
Tom Cruise. Yeah.
So there's this scene where they're in the antebellum South, and they're on this plantation. And have you seen it?
I've not. Ooh. I've not. I know. No, I've not yet. It's on the list.
Okay. So there's a scene.
Tell me about it, though. Tell me about it.
Yeah. There's a scene where they're living on this plantation. They have slaves. They're living as slave owners, even though they're vampires. And they're feeding on like the women. They're feeding on the men. And eventually the slaves end up revolting against them and burning their house down and running them off the plantation. But when that happened, and the movie just kind of continued on after that. And I was like, hold up. Because I remember they bit this one girl and they didn't kill her. I'm like, what happened to that girl that they bit? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, there's a story there. Like that. I feel like there was some more people that they probably bit, like illegitimate kids just running around there that they just didn't care about. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, that's where the initial seed sparked. And okay, so I stored that in my subconscious. My first year apprenticing as a tattoo artist, I just started meeting all these people, and I just started hearing all these crazy stories, and I started dealing with a lot of blood. Had a lot of mistakes. Like I was piercing, so I would pierce somebody's tongue, and maybe blood might skeet out if I did it wrong, if I did under the tongue, and then HIV was really a thing back then. So it was a lot of things revolving blood were kind of in my world. But I think one of the biggest things was I had a coworker. I forget his name, but he actually lived as a vampire. Like he was a tattoo artist, so he had the piercings, but he also had his two teeth like filed down to points.
That's crazy.
Every day he would come to work, he just had these fangs. He was also on heroin really bad. The nicest guy you ever met, but he was just a junkie. And I remember going out with him one night, and he just introduced me to like his little subculture of friends, and they were all lived as vampires. Like they lived as vampires. They were drinking.
That is wild.
I think they were drinking like pig blood. They just had like it was like a little underground spot. I forget the name of it. And they were really living as blood. And I'm sitting there like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh shit. So
I'm not to be blunt, but like, were they white folk or?
Yeah, they were white, man. They was white, man.
Just checking.
Like,
just checking.
So I'm thinking about smoking my little blunt. They over here drinking blood. You know what I'm saying? So the next day, that really just seeing that whole subculture, and they was really like living it. They was acting like vampire. They was acting real. How you think a vampire would act? But these are kids. They like early 20s, teenagers. So
That's crazy.
And so I think that plus the movie was the biggest thing, because at that point Merce did exist, but I was just using him as, I was just drawing this comic strip of this guy that would, because I would hear these crazy stories, so I would document them. And I would have this little character. I had a picture of Mos Def. He had this picture. He was wearing a fedora, because Mos Def was always the model for Merce.
Mm-hmm.
I just drew this character, and I used to draw him tattooing people. This is before I knew he was going to be a slave, before he was going to be a tattoo artist, anything. He was just, or a vampire. And that's just how it kind of came about. And it just kind of rolled around in my brain, like the part where the town is constantly dark. I got that from 30 Days of Night. You know what I'm saying? Inspired by that. That's one of my favorite vampire movies. Actually, the town of DayBlack, before Merce changed it, because Merce, I'm not going to tell too much because this hadn't been put in the story yet. But actually, never mind all that. I'm going to say. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, save it. But yeah, that's crazy. And I was gonna ask also, like, what pieces of like vampire media, like TV shows, movies that you watch. But you already mentioned 30 Days of Night, which again, I love that movie, and I now I'm just seeing that. That's crazy. That makes sense in terms of, you know, the town and all that, and the Interview with a Vampire. Anything else that you watched? You said that any piece of like TV shows, movies, you know?
Not that. Well, Spike Lee was always a huge influence. Man, Spike Lee. Oh man, yeah.
Vampire movies specifically. Sorry.
Yeah. And he actually has one. It's called The Sweet Blood of Jesus that he did.
Really?
Yeah, it's a remake of the movie Ganja and Hess, and it's about it's not a traditional vampire movie, but it's about this archaeologist who gets this artifact from Africa. It's a spear, and you're stabbed by this spear, you automatically get this thirst for blood that you have to quench. So it was vampire, not in the traditional sense, but it was still pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
And, that was but I had done DayBlack way before.
Bro, I've never heard of this. I feel stupid not ever hearing of this, and I'm a huge Spike Lee fan. I'm watching this show on Peacock tonight. After
it really flew under the radar. Like it was really low key, really artsy, really beautiful. I think what's the guy's name that played Freddie Mercury?
Rami Malek.
Yeah, this is like his first movie. He was in it.
Oh, crap. Okay.
Yeah, it was a beautiful movie. But yeah, Spike Lee was a huge influence. And but yeah, that's about it, man. Like I said, I wasn't too deep in the horror lore per se. I was just, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird how just stuff just kind of rolls around in your brain and comes out. You know what I'm saying?
True. I think with me is like, you know, when it comes to vampires, like I mean, I always stick with, like, for me, one of my favorite movies of vampire movies of all time is Blade. Like Blade for me is like the pinnacle. Like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like the TV shows, like one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Like I love Buffy. I love the lore. I love the characters. But yeah, I was just curious, you know, because there's vampire media out there like crazy, you know. So I wanted to see like what influences you may have taken for DayBlack. You know, so that's what's up. That's good. I'm definitely gonna check out this movie though. This is getting watched tonight for sure. But yeah, so next question, bro, because again, speaking of, like, you know, how vampires have, you know, vampires in media have existed for a long time. Obviously, there's typical tropes associated with vampires that have been used in movies. But with yours, like, you know, I want to know kind of like, you know, how, like, because your ideas for vampires are very interesting the way, like, obviously you keep some of the same aspects, you know, like the garlic, the reflection stuff, you know, the coffins, all that stuff. But you know, I really did. One of my favorite things about DayBlack was how really different you try to make your vampires are, with like some of the details, like the religion aspect of it, like, you know, typical crosses and stuff like that. I love that aspect of it. You know, the HIV aspect of that as well. I thought that was really interesting. Kind of like weakness that I haven't really seen vampire media really discuss before. But one that really shocked me a lot was, like, you know, how your vampires in DayBlack are colorblind and can only see the color red, obviously for instinctual purposes. I was like, that is so it. Like, I'm like, how did no one think of that? Like, that's crazy. So I want to commend you for that. But so my question is, man, how like, what was the challenges to make your vampires stand out from the rest? And then, like, a follow-up question to that is, like, were there any concepts that you came up with that you kind of threw away because they were just like, nah, this ain't gonna work? So
well, I will say the whole vampire seeing in red was a thing that happened out of necessity, because I wasn't really great with color back then, and then on top of that, I knew getting a book fully colored was going to be more expensive than
Extremely expensive. Yep.
So I was like, all right, well, and I was also a big Frank Miller fan.
Oh
So
yeah.
like,
So
okay, I love Sin City, so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do my shit black and white and red. But and that was really just cost effective for me to do it. But what I did was I flipped it. I was like, all right, so in order to justify this and not seem like I'm just cheap, this is the world they live in. All vampires are only colorblind except for the color red. But another way that also worked is, as a tattoo artist, back then we were taught that only red shows up on black skin, only black and red show up on brown skin. So that was like a double entendre for like, it represents the only color that they could see. Plus, on top of that, red is the only color that shows up on black people. You know,
that's crazy. Okay.
So that's where I came up with that aspect of it. As far as the rest of the tropes, I just really anything that I do, I try to inject some kind of social commentary into it. Even when I did the HIV aspect, like even now I'm kind of retconning that, because HIV isn't what it used to be. Like DayBlack, it was literally like a death sentence. If you got HIV, like that was it. That's the worst. And when we know today, that's not the case. So I really kind of stepped away from that a little bit. I don't even really mention it anymore. But so it was just a thing to really just try to, like I said, I grew up listening to Public and all these political groups. So if I was going to do something, I wanted to make sure that I had some form of edutainment in it, some kind of message in there, but not hitting anybody over the head. Just letting you know that this is the world we live in. We're not going to forget about this stuff just because we're having an escape reading this vampire comic book. We're still going to know, like, this is still the world that he lives in. So, and he still makes his decisions based off of that world. Like, he's not going to just bite random people, because that's like having sex without a condom, So I just really like making real world connections to the fantasy. To me, it just makes it feel more real and more as far as like the religion, I always thought that was really presumptuous of vampirism, to just assume that people would be repelled by the cross, because that's just admitting, like, okay, everybody else is wrong. It really is Christianity, that it is the true one religion, if that affects everybody. And I was like, well, what does that mean to a Muslim? What does that mean to a Jewish person? Like, what does that mean to all of these other people? Like, be something that is more of it's more of a reflection of your shame for what you have become based off of your faith. So not Christian, that's not, a cross is not going to affect you. You know what I'm saying? And in Mercer's case, he didn't believe in anything, so nothing had an effect.
Affects him.
Genius. And that's my vampire hunter Radames, like, he has a chain of every religion you could have on his neck, like, just in case. You never know who he's going to encounter, So it's having fun, especially when you're dealing with such a done to death genre. You know what I'm saying? It can't just come in there just doing, and that's another thing about Twilight.
Yeah.
That I respect. Like, I know Twilight has a bad rap, and I ended up having to watch it because I had a teenage daughter at the time. So I had to watch all of them. But I was actually, I like this. I liked it because they did what they wanted to do. I liked it because I didn't like the glitter skin. I thought that was corny.
That was weird.
But still, it was different. And they didn't have sharp teeth. It was different. All of them had different skill sets, kind of like mutants. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like for however quality of a movie series it was, the just the idea that you could do whatever you want to do resonated with me. Like, I could really do whatever I want to do. Like, nobody, they aren't real. As long as you keep those key things, you can't be out in daylight. You got to sleep in the car. Like, they can be interchangeable, but you have to have at least one or two, like, that everybody can relate it to being a vampire.
That's what's up. Yeah, I mean, definitely. And all these nuances that you're adding to your vampires literally fleshes out the world, makes it unique, makes it stand out. So I really did. And that was one of my favorite things to read in DayBlack, was picking out like what you've changed and what you've added. So that's what's up. Yeah, so next question, man, because obviously like hip hop, even like hip hop's a big influence in this book. Obviously, like when you look at Mercer's coffin, seeing all the different stickers, which I loved. I love that little Easter egg hunt there that you did. And obviously you mentioned, which I heard from another interview that you did, and obviously now that Mos Def was your inspiration for Merce. So I also want to know this for the hip hop question, like why Mos Def out of all the rappers you could have chose from or hip hop icons you could have chose from?
Well, I was already a fan.
Absolutely, Mos Def is dope. He's dope.
Yeah, he's dope, and his voice I thought would be always, I always envisioned it as a film always. So I'm always thinking of his voice. I thought would have been a great way because DayBlack is full of a lot of exposition. It's a lot of like Merce narrating it, and imagine Mos Def talking through these scenes. I like that'd be really dope. And he was also just a very stylish cat, and there was just one particular picture of him in this fedora. Like he just looked cool as hell. And I drew it in my style. And I was like, oh, this is cool. So just general admiration of him. Like today's Mos Def is not back then's Mos Def because
the Yasin Bey version.
Yeah, he's a little older now and his voice is a little different. So that's not somebody that I would want to play him today. But just back then, I was just a hip hop fan. I was a fan. I'm just creating this art. I'm gonna do. Oh, I like this. I'm gonna throw this in it because I can. So I like this. I'm just the type of person that likes to wear my influences on my sleeve. I don't like to really gatekeep who I love and who I was influenced by because I think they're cool. And I think when people know who I was influenced by and what I was influenced by, it makes it even a more richer experience and gives you more insight on where I'm coming from.
That's what's up. And just to add on to that, what are there any like albums that maybe you've listened to that inspired DayBlack at all? Like any like give me like 3 hip hop albums or artists that you listen to while that inspired DayBlack. I'm curious to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Cannibal Ox. This is an underground New York hip hop group.
Very.
Oh, you hip?
A little bit. Yeah. I listen to him a little bit. I've heard of him before. I had a cousin who put me on him.
Okay, yeah. So Cannibal Ox was a big deal because when I first started apprenticing, that album was called The Cold Vein, and that dropped the year that I was apprenticing. So I was listening to that nonstop. Also, the Black Keys is another group because they do a lot of their stuff be kind of bluesy, and I always think if DayBlack had a distinct sound, it would be blues. A very bluesy, but like sweaty blues, really just bluesy, just like Center. There it is.
Yeah.
But can't get away from it. And who else? And I would say like D'Angelo.
Oh wow, okay.
Especially the Voodoo album. That album was in heavy rotation when I was creating, and he was really he probably is a lot. That music and sound probably is a big influence on just how I perceive Merce to be. Like if Merce was music, he would probably be D'Angelo's music, And the flip side, his brother Bryce would be more Odd Future. You know what I'm saying? Be more like
definitely
early Tyler the Creator, Earl Sweatshirt, all that when they first came out. You know what I'm saying? So just that danger, that irreverence, you know what I'm saying? Vulgar, juvenile, all of that, but still intelligent, all of that stuff. So yeah, man.
Like literally when I was reading Bryce, I was like, this man just listens to Goblin like 24/7. Like
exactly.
That's dope. D'Angelo. Okay, that I didn't expect that. I was okay, but now hearing, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I can see that for sure.
Yeah,
I can see that for sure.
Read DayBlack and listen to Voodoo in the background. You'll see what I mean. It's like
I definitely will now. That's for sure. I just have a random question, because again, a lot of the interactions with Merce being a tattoo artist, just like the whole tattoo parlor that he has, the bar, like that's dope. Most of the idea of Hazel, how he gets the blood through the tattoo machine, that was crazy. That's also one thing I love that you added on to, to make your version of vampires a little more different. But yeah, like, a lot of the interactions
all tied into that and the whole bar aspect. It all ties into tattooing because also it's also important to note that I grew up. My dad was a strip club owner, so I grew up
really.
And his mother owned bars, so I've grown up in those type of places when I was a kid. Like not when they were open, of course. When I was older, when they were open, but I've always been kind of in that atmosphere. So that's just
you're from Atlanta, bro. Yeah, that's the culture up there.
Well, this was actually in Gary, Indiana, because that's where I'm originally from.
Wow, okay.
That's where I was born, but I was raised. I've been in Atlanta since I was like 2 years old. But
I got you.
all in Gary, Indiana. So that's where in the summertime, that's where I would go, and that's where I would hang out with my dad. But yeah, but even with the bar aspect, that was from being around my grandmother who ran bars. But at the same time, as a tattoo artist, I learned that when you drink alcohol before you get a tattoo, it thins your blood, which is bad because you'll bleed more, and it also, as it's bleeding, it dilutes the ink as it's going in your skin because your skin is just moist and not really retaining the ink like it should. But I use that as a way for him to get as much blood as he could from Hazel, because if your blood is thinner, he's getting more blood sucked out. So that's what the bar was really for. I forgot if I put that explanation in the book or not, but it's
I believe you did.
Okay.
I think you did. So
yeah, okay.
I think we're good on there. But I just wanted to ask, like, you know, are some of the interactions that are in the book that he has with clients, are those based off of actual interactions you've actually had?
Yes.
Because they're hilarious, bro. They're so funny.
Yeah, absolutely. All of them, yes. Yeah, I've had a junkie had me cover up tracks on his arms.
Crazy.
I didn't exchange for blood, but probably just for money, probably. But I've had girls that, yeah, I've had all of that stuff, man. All of that was because that's when the comic strip was. When it was just the comic strip, it would be just strips of that stuff, like just people saying wild stuff, and then that was it. And then when I got to Bill, he was like, "Oh, let's make this into a book. Let's format it into a book."
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm not gonna say what other interactions because I want people to actually read the book, but they're funny. They're funny, and it's like the fact that they're based off of actual situation experience is just crazy. It makes me really realize that I don't want to be a tattoo artist because I don't want to be dealing with people like that.
Crazy, man. You know, it is a wild life, man, and yeah, it was a wild life. It was a wild life.
I can imagine. All right, so one thing that you had in here that I didn't expect, that like was kind of a B plot in like the early, you know, volumes of DayBlack. But bro, tell me about Kubrick, man. Why do you have a guy shooting people in the ass as a back plot?
Because Sagging Pants was just at a fever pitch high. Now I'm just kind of even, all I'm level to it because it's just like it ain't going nowhere. But there's a point where I was just seeing so much man butt cleavage, man, that I was just like, yo, I am so tired. And I was just like, there's nothing. And then they would have belts on, like folks that have belts on, it'll still be hanging down. And I hate to sound like an old dude, but I was writing this when I was in my 20s. So I was tired of it back then. I was like, come on, just take them off if you're going to have them that low. Just take them off. Take them off. And so I was just like, and that's the great thing about being able to create. You could really, you know, people always say they like to make art to express themselves, but I was really expressing myself, like really telling you how I felt. You know what I'm saying? This is a way that I could say shit that I can't be around my peoples at the tattoo shop like, hey man, pull your pants up. You know, you look like, I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So this was my way of getting out my frustrations and still making it funny, because I always wanted DayBlack to be funny. You know what I'm saying? Not just all serious, but and that was just hilarious to me. Like, I feel like that if that really happened, and I was like, if this book comes out, we're gonna have some copycat Kubricks out there, but
yeah,
being funny, man. Just
started a problem.
Yeah, it's probably a thought that I had, and I was like, let me write this down. This is funny.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. And it was kind of a breath of fresh air too, because obviously we're used to, like, you know, the narrating from Merce and, like, you know, how kind of dark, but also there's a good amount of dark humor in this book, which I really appreciated. But like, just seeing that aspect of it, that killed me. I thought it was so funny. I could feel the hatred for Sagging Pants, bro, from you. It was great.
Right. It was like if we do the series, like when the series is done, that's one of those episodes that's going to be like, you know how Atlanta would have these just random episodes that had nothing to do with the continuation.
It did it a lot in season 3. I remember that.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be something like that where it'll just be one episode. It'll be like, what am I watching again? Like, I always love shows like that where for a minute you forget what show you're watching because it's like flashback or just some kind of veer off of the narrative. But yeah.
That's
just
crazy,
fun, man. Just having fun with it.
Just having fun, yeah, man. Like, as you should, man. That's awesome.
And then the thing about it too is, as I was doing DayBlack, I was really discovering my style. Like it's really, it was such a pure time, man, because it was really, I knew it was something special. And as I'm making it, I felt it, and it just felt good. And I just remember just like thinking like this shit is like, people gonna love this shit when they read. Like, I wasn't even thinking big. I was like, when I show this to people, they gonna trip out. So such a pure time, man. You know, I
I
just
got you.
look back at that really fondly, like those early times, really getting my groove and realizing what I was creating was, you know.
And the thing is, like, when it comes to, you know, DayBlack, and especially because so far, like, there's volume 1, 2, and then Reparations. It's been a singular story just contained within the world of DayBlack. But like, I feel like there's different avenues you could go with, you know. Like, I'm just curious, you know, like, do you have any plans to like expand the world of DayBlack in the future, maybe do spin-offs? Because like, I love the vampire hunters a lot in this, especially the fact that your vampire hunters in this are mostly Latino Mexican, you know, community, and I really love that aspect of it. So I wanted to know, like, what do you ever do? Consider doing spin-off of some of the things you've introduced in DayBlack? Or
Absolutely. I have a Radamez and the Vampire Hunters is definitely spin-off material. Easy.
Easy, yeah.
Great thing about the book being called DayBlack because it's not a person, it's a town. And anybody could be in that town. It could be DayBlack featuring a whole new set of people. You know what I'm saying? They're all in the town. I have a werewolf coming up that's going to be Mercer's best friend. You know, but this particular arc, I have 7 issues currently. I plan on stopping at 10 with this arc of DayBlack, and then whatever happens after that happens. But yeah, spinoffs from it could happen. I have a Frankenstein character who has look, my Frankenstein monster is so genius, man. I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you how dope. I can't even. I want to tell you so bad, but I can't tell you.
Don't tell me.
So good.
Yeah. All right.
But all right. Y'all gonna be like, I can't believe nobody thought about this before, and it's so hip hop, and it's so good. And I don't really be like this about stuff, but it is so. And I've been holding on to it for so many years, but I haven't had a chance to put it in the book yet because this other stuff to get to that point. You got to do all this other stuff first, you know, writing and shit, you know. So, but it's I got a Frankenstein and a Frankenstein's monster. Let me see what else. Basically. But the thing is, I would really like to collaborate with other people and just get some different talent in there because. Look, man, I don't want to be drawing comics until, you know, I don't want to be doing this forever. Like DayBlack was that was it. But I have not because I don't want to do correction. I don't want to be drawing DayBlack forever. I have a story after this that I'm so eager to get started on, but I know I can't until I finish this. But so yeah, I have other stories that I want to tell. But if I do continue with DayBlack stuff, it'll probably be on a writer role or a producer role or something like that. And
do the Magnolia verse approach. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's still the property is still yours, like the car is still yours, but you're giving other creators access to the keys, you know, to play around with. So I mean, I feel that's what everyone, like anyone who's doing indie stuff, you know, I was even talking to Sean about it, you know, a few days ago on the phone, and he's just like, yeah, at some point I have so many ideas, but I can't tackle them all myself. I'm only one person. So he's gonna have the future's gonna hire.
Capullo.
Exactly. So now I feel you on that, but I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing what else we come up with just within the world of DayBlack. Again, I love I love the hunters. I had a question about the hunters, but we gotta move on because I don't want to take too much time with you. You know,
hey, look, man, if we run, I'm not tripping on time like that, man.
All right,
that's what you need to ask.
All right, okay, so that's open invitation to ask. So why make your vampire hunters Mexican? Why choose out of any other community of color? Why Mexicans or Latinos specifically?
Yeah, because I really hated the way they've been treated in this country. I hated the perception of them. I hated that we don't really. And I was just talking to John about this the other day about how little I know about Mexican people firsthand. Like. Because it's like I made a post about this on Facebook. I found out that 75% of white people in America have little to no meaningful interactions with Black people or anybody that's not white. That's 75% white people. So only thing they get on us is what the media shows them, and we already know what the media is showing them.
Exactly.
So that's a big reason of why or how somebody like Trump can get elected, because he's feeding off of the fears of people who don't know the people that have been villainized by the government. You know what I'm saying? So. I saw that same similarity with Mexicans, and I feel a kinship to them just because the way they're viewed similar to us, even though a lot of them may want to be more white adjacent than Black adjacent because they don't know about us personally. Like
Yeah.
People not knowing each other is the biggest reason that like racism and discrimination exists. Like if you just knew people and take the time to get to know people and realize you got more in common than you don't, a lot of shit will get solved. But
Easy.
yeah, right. So my whole motivation with making them the vampire hunters is because whenever I saw Mexicans, they were always cutting grass or doing work or busting tables, and there was just a certain. It was just something like, okay, I don't look at you like you're lower than me, but you're presented that way to feel like you are a lower class citizen than I am. So, and even because you can't speak English, you can't articulate yourself to me, it was another barrier. So I just wanted to turn that narrative and make them into heroes, man. I wanted to make them, we discriminate against them here, especially most recently, but I just wanted to make them and turn it around to where they're really our biggest protectors. They really are. They migrate over here. So they come over here so much, not because they're trying to escape where they're living, because America has the highest concentration of vampires. These corporations, all these rich people, they're all vampires or puppets of vampires.
Yeah.
Mexicans know this, and they migrate over here because they are sworn by, they're like bloodbound since the Incan days to eradicate vampires. So it's not, we just want to find a better life. No, we're here to eradicate your vampire problem, Americans. You know, so I just wanted to empower them because I look at them like brothers too. You know what I'm saying? I look at them, you know, I look at everybody like we brothers, but more so people that, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I got you.
I don't want to be excluded. I don't know who's listening, so I don't ever want to sound like, I don't ever want to come off as racist. But sometimes the way this climate is, man, I was thinking the other day, man, like they are really gonna make me racist. Like some of these white people, I feel it in me. Like I don't want to be racist towards white people, but y'all are just making it hard. Like for this, like right now, if I don't know you as a white person, if I don't know you, then you're racist to me until proven not racist. I'm just going to automatically assume that because y'all, the majority voted for a white supremacist. We getting off subject now, but
yeah, I got you. I
don't want to get too crazy.
It's
but
all
you
good.
get what I'm saying. So I basically just wanted to empower Mexicans, who I feel like are our brothers too. We just haven't had a chance to really get to know each other as a culture.
Absolutely.
And I just and another thing, and that's just another way again to inject my social commentary into things. Like think it's migration, but it's really this. And even with Radamez's trainer Bolo, you know, he was a former Black Panther who tried to tell them like, look, don't worry about white people. It's really these vampires, you know. So trying to just inject social commentary. That's all.
Yeah, and I thought it was really, and I love that aspect of it where it's like you're kind of taking like the idea of like, you know, overpowering the overlooked, like because obviously because me personally, like, you know, being a child of immigrants and, you know, living in a community in a town where it's a lot of immigrants from different backgrounds, cultures, like, you know, it's like I personally think like immigrants are some of the most hardworking people on the US on Earth, you know.
Here to just fuck around, you know what I'm saying?
Nah, not at all. And
no.
and the fact that you took that and we're just like, no, like, you know, like you know, people that mow your lawns or, you know, like, you know, pick your fields or work in your factories, like, you know, people that are deemed to be working who are from these countries trying to build a better life for themselves, working jobs that are seemed like lower, but in reality, you know, they're actually here. They're the heroes of our society. You know what I mean? Like they're the ones protecting us from things that we are not seeing or understanding. So I love that you took that with the angle with your vampire hunters, with the character of Radamez and all that.
That's what I saw in Centers. Like you hadn't read it yet, so you didn't know. But when I saw those Choctaw Indians chasing that vampire, I was like,
yeah, you said that in the review. You're like, damn it. But hey, listen, you know, I think your version of your hunters, like, you know, there's a lot of potential story to tell that maybe even Cougar wasn't really thinking. So I loved it, man. And the like also the fact that, like, you know, that tusks and like ivory are used to hurt vampires, not wood. Like steaks, so they're typical what to you. I thought that was so genius. I was like, this is good shit, man. I loved it. But listen, man, I'm just saying, spinoff for the vampire hunters. I think that's like that's a slam dunk. I want to see some of that.
It is. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. And especially like, you know, because you implement a lot of like, you know, history, especially Black history in terms of like, you know, slavery in the South and all that. I would love to see, you know, if you ever do something more with, you know, the vampire hunters, I want to see some of that, you know, Aztec mythology and history and Inca mythology and history and how that, you know, connects to the vampire hunters in the present. I would love to see something like that from you, bro.
That's one of those books I would definitely get a Mexican writer. You know,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully artists, just let that whole team just be all Latino, you know what I'm saying, Mexican. Yes, that would be beautiful, man. And so like nothing else, you know.
For sure, man. I'm manifesting it.
You know what? I even had I wrote a short story about when Trump was first running on like build the wall and all this stuff. Like I had this image that I drew of Radamez like stabbing Trump at the podium, like 2 tusks through his chest. And I posted it on Facebook, and I remember everybody in my DMs like, "Yo, you need to take that down."
Take that down.
I took it down real quick. Like, oh shit, I don't want to get put on no list, but I had I wrote a little, or had an idea just about all of these. Like Radamez got like a group of hunters to band together, and they was going to really try to go take him out because he was. They knew if gone unchecked, if vampires totally infiltrated America, like eventually it was going to be the world. So they knew they had to like kill it at the root, which is in America. So they couldn't let Trump go through what he was going to try to do. So
I got you. You know, that's bold as hell. Bold as hell. But again, like, you know, we don't want you. We want you getting in trouble. You know what I mean?
I still might do it. I just might change the name. You know, just don't make it Trump per se. You know.
Absolutely. Again, there's plenty of comics that I've read the past like 10 years of his. You know, ever since of his even his first administration, where they've made caricatures of, like, I don't know if you ever read or no, you know, Corey Andrews, because he's one of my favorite artists. Corey Andrews. He did like Spider-Man Rain, or like, you know,
missed that.
Or like he did like Iron Fist Living Weapon. Like I love that book. But he did a book called Renato Jones the 1%. I have it on my shelf, but we're recording right now, so I'm not gonna go grab it. But he has a caricature of Trump in there, and he did not give a shit. He just went off. so you know, listen, man, like, don't be afraid. People have done it.
Yeah, in that there was a Batman issue, I forget, with Rafael Grampa as the artist.
Oh my God.
There was literally a guy. He's one of my favorites, but there's literally a guy. He made somebody to look just like Trump too. And even in the new Daredevil series, like, okay, Wilson Fisk is basically Trump.
Absolutely.
So, he's he's like, how can you not make it's too easy to emulate him. He's such a villain, you know.
True.
He's got everything you need right there.
True. But all right, so let's move on right quick to So now we're gonna go, because I love how you mentioned, you know, your love for films, and again, we actually also share the same love for films. I don't know if you have a Letterboxd, but like, you know, I have a Letterboxd account. You want to put you on something?
Yeah.
Oh, so Letterboxd is like it's a movie like community app. So like you can literally like track your movies with a diary, and like so you like when you make an account, you put like your 4 favorite movies, right? And then every time you watch a film, you can track it. So you put you put a date, you log it, and you also put like a little review out of like 5 stars. So like that's, and I watch movies a lot. So like it's such a great way to track like movies and stuff like that.
So I'm doing something similar. I'm working on this now with Merce. He's going to do a music review. It's going to be called Things That Go Bump in the Night, and it's going to be like all of these. He's just going to be like a music review. I got him sitting down in a chair, like looking at all these album covers. He'll hold the album cover up, and then every album cover will be a different album. He's going to do a quick little review of it, you know, just for fun.
I got you. Yeah, no, but yeah, no, I'll put you on off camera. I'll let you know about off camera. But yeah, but the fact that you know, movies were such a huge influence on you, and you actually got to do a short film for DayBlack. I'm forgetting what year you dropped it. I don't know if you know off the top of your head.
That was probably that was before I got published. So that was like
okay, it was before you got published.
Yeah, that was before I got published.
Oh wow.
This is when DayBlack was just a movie script.
Oh, so you didn't even do the comic yet?
I had a comic, but it was very raw, and it was very actually.
Okay.
Like this.
Okay.
Like the first DayBlack. Like this.
Yeah, let me solo layout you for a second so we can get a closer look. There we go.
Very raw.
Oh, so that's the first draft. Wow.
Like the first, and then look, you can see it was racier.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, you know, Brian was like, or
Yeah,
Bill.
you got to tone that down.
Yeah, so this is very, like, you can even see the state. Like, I had 2 pages, and I was stapling them together because I couldn't do 2-page printing for some reason. Like,
That's crazy.
so that's,
you gotta like frame that like at some point. You know,
right?
when the Dayverse gets, you know, made and all that, like, you know, you have a bunch of books that you can frame it like this was the first one. This is the. Oh, yeah, I was about to ask you, like, you know, so what was it? Because again, I didn't read. I told you off camera, like, after we did the Sinners podcast, but I didn't read DayBlack. I only knew about it from the short film. So I wanted just to know, like, what was it like, you know, just making the DayBlack short film, like, you know, comes to, you know, like, tell me about it.
Yeah, so I did have a version, but mainly I had a script, and my wife is an actress, and she is heavily influenced in Atlanta. Like, she does a lot of theater, she does a lot of directing.
Has she been on Tubi? Have I seen her on Tubi?
She has, but fun fact, her dad is Thomas Bird, who from, I don't know if you know him, but he's been in a lot of Spike Lee films. He was Luther and Set It Off.
I would know him by the face. I would definitely know him by the face if he's been in a Spike Lee joint.
Yeah, his name is Thomas Jefferson Bird, and when you see his face, you're definitely gonna know him. But he's been in like a lot of Spike Lee films.
Oh my God, this dude!
That dude,
yeah.
Clockers, but he was Errol Barnes and Clockers. That was my favorite performance.
Absolutely, yeah. Set It Off, yeah.
Yeah, so that's her dad. So
wow, okay.
He passed away a few years ago, but when I met her and when we got married, or before we got married, I met her and she just had like such an amazing pool of friends and actors and people that were in theater and just doing stuff. And a lot of those people I actually went to high school with, because I'm visual and performing arts high school. So we connected that way. And I wrote the script. And at the time, I was going to shop it to, I think I was going to go to SCAD or just go to a film college and see if anybody wanted to make it. And she was like, well, we got all these friends. Like, I was like, yeah, we do. We got this nice little community of actors and they're really good. So I just started asking my friends and people that we knew. And I had this script. I was like, we don't have no money. We'll provide food. And that was it. My director, Justin, he was working at a advertising agency at the time, but he had access to all of these cameras and equipment. Yeah, so when people read the script, everybody was just down. Like, I was so blessed, man. Like, it didn't cost me anything. That movie didn't, except for groceries. I just paid the crew every day, and we just got it done, man. We went out to an actual cotton field, everything, which was ironic because we went to this cotton field, and when we got there, it must have been like a high school prom or something. It was like all these white kids out there taking prom pictures in the cotton field. And here we up with our actors dressed like slaves, waiting for them to take pictures. We're like, what the fuck?
Y'all on the thick of it now, huh? That's hilarious.
Like, man, the ancestors got to be looking at us laughing right
now. That's crazy because, like, yeah, I thought the short film, I've watched it many times at this point. I've rewatched it multiple times. It's very well done. I think Justin Jordan did a good job directing it, especially because, like, the fact that you said that you paid no money. I thought there maybe been some, like, you know, some crowdfunding and like that, but no, just because the quality of it is pretty for the time. It was pretty good. And it was crazy because a lot of the lines that I heard in the short film, it was so surreal hearing them in the book. When you sent me a copy, I was like, oh, that's what Merce said in the short film. I thought it was great to see, be able to compare and contrast. Especially how you condensed it. You be able to condense like the first volume of the book in part of the first volume of the book in 30 minutes. So I thought that was very impressive.
Yeah, because the book really came from that script, because the script was even smaller than that, but Justin was like, you have to write more. Like, I had to start looking at, like, each page is like, I think he might have said like a minute of dialogue or a minute or 5 minutes or something. Like, I had to really approach each page as how long it's going to play on the screen. So it really made me write a lot more. It made me fill out the book a lot more and the story a lot more. So, yeah. And at the time there was this camera called the Red camera that was like field, and Justin had access to it. That's why it looked so good, because it was like the top of the line, the best camera you could have got at that time. It was called the Red.
I got you.
And that's why it looks so good, you know.
Yeah, and the fact that, you know, you said that DayBlack originally started off as like a film script, and then, like, you know, when I was watching I was like, yeah, I want to see this like adapted in something, or especially when I was reading it, I was like, man, I want to see this. Like, this makes sense. I could see it as a movie in my head, and then especially the way you format it and the way you compose it, I'm like, yeah, it's definitely like, you know, it's definitely meant to be seen on like adapt on like a screen. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, for sure. What did you have to, like, you know, because obviously, like, you know, writing a comic book script and writing a film script is fairly different. Did you do any research, like, you know, in screenwriting and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, not in the official classes, but like Tarantino came out, I just became just in love with his writing, his dialogue. So I started buying all his screenplays, because at the time, all his movies he published the screenplays to him, so you can go buy the screenplays. So I was reading Pulp Fiction, I was reading Romance, Natural Born Killers, Reservoir Dogs, all of his movies. Then I started reading other things like Jacob's Ladder and A Fight Club, and you know what I'm saying, Good Will Hunting. I was a big fan of Gus Van Sant, the director Gus Van Sant. So yeah, that definitely informed me as I started writing. And even when I write now, I write from the perspective of a screenplay. Like, I'm imagining where the camera is going to go. Just like it's just like just a hybrid of techniques. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like, I feel like in comics, like, there are like comic creators who who are opposed or against, like, you know, when they create a story, like, they don't create a story with the intention of it being adapted into something. They want it to solely just be a comic.
Right.
But I mean, I do like the fact that, you know, with yours, like, you are like, you know, yeah, I want this to be adapted into something first, but you're also putting in the work to make it a good comic book first.
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
I always say, I say it all the time, I'm not a comic book artist. I'm an artist that made a comic book. So I just I feel like that, man. Like, it's always been my clear intention, this is going to be a film. You know what I'm saying? But as I've done it, I've loved doing it. You know what I'm saying? So whether it's a film or not, I'm still going to keep doing it, just because I've fallen in love with doing it. And when you have people that show you so much love and love it, like, how can you not keep giving it to people? You know what I'm saying? So when people say it's all about the fans, it's true, man. Like, it is about the fans. Like, the fans sustain you whenever you feel like it's not working, or you feel like, you know, do you have it in you anymore? Do you have any more stories in you? Is your art still good? You meet those fans at those conventions that come up and have bought all of your books, and like talking to you about it and telling you and giving you interpretations on things that you hadn't even considered, but you like, okay, yeah, that sounds good too. Like, that stuff really, for me personally, it's the fuel for me to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to, yeah, I just want to leave something behind, man. I want to just leave something behind that just says, hey, I was here and I contributed this to the culture. I pushed our culture as Black people forward. And once I've seen that I've done that, or even if I'm at the tip of the iceberg of doing it, that's good with me. So if it has to be in comic form to sustain that, then great, you know. So yeah,
for sure. Did you take the film to the film? Did you do like a film festival circuit, or no? Okay.
Yeah. We got. There's a festival called the Bronzelands Festival here in Atlanta, and got selected to showcase there. That was really cool.
How was the reception? You know, from
the reception is just like it is when people read the book. It's like, oh, you know, I've never seen or heard anything like this. See, but the director, he doesn't like it that much. He doesn't like the film that much, because we found out like midway through filming, because he's like really religious. Like, Justin is really straight edge, really great guy. He actually donated a kidney to me. Like, that's how tight we are.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he's just really religious. And there was a scene where it was a very simple scene. We were shooting. Merce was tattooing at his station, and he had his wall. All of the stuff on his tattoo wall was like paintings, pictures, and there was a Buddha picture of Buddha there, and there was a cross. And he was like, I don't really feel comfortable with those two things next to each other. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, I just gotta. So, and then he just, I think in the end, he wasn't really happy with the type of film. I don't know. I know he's just not like, or it could have just been one of those things where even when I look at it today, I wince. I'm like, ugh. Especially when I'm in it, because I'm in the movie.
I know.
Because somebody didn't show up and I had to do it, and they had to really talk me into doing it. I was like, man, I do not want to stink up my own movie, man. Like, I am not anywhere near of an actor. But they was like,
Listen,
look,
man, M. Night does it, Tarantino does it. Come on, man. You
look
feel them shoes.
Look at those performances, though, man. Look at that. That is not helping the case. Tarantino in my own movie. Tarantino is Tarantino in his movie, but you know, I got over it. But you know, I just wasn't expecting to do it that day, especially play a pimp of all things.
I know. I thought it was fun. I thought it was
yeah,
fun.
You know, I look back at it and it's funny, but you know, anytime you look back at old stuff, you're kind of like, oh, you know. But you know, everybody likes it, man. That's why it's still up on the website, and you know, I'm proud of it. I'm proud that we got that done.
As you should be, man.
Without a whole comic book even done yet, like even fully completed yet, and I'm
which is crazy.
Thankful for all the people that did it pro bono, you know, and that's why I try to, whenever any opportunities come up with DayBlack, I always reach out to that cast and see if they want to be a part of it, you know.
I got you. That's for sure. No, I find it just impressive you did it before I thought you had the comic made already, you know, and it man inspired me because I also got something I'm working on, and I want to also maybe in the future, if I can, do like a short film component as a companion piece. Like I love, because again, I love film so much. Yeah. So I really that. So you already doing it, like, you know, inspired the hell out of me. And
you absolutely can do it.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, thanks for making it, man. It was dope. All right, man. So I gotta ask you, because again, I read all 3 volumes, right? Mm-hmm. Again, really appreciate seeing your growth, because again, you said you didn't really go to school for really comics, right? You just, you know, be pretty much self-taught in terms of comic book stuff, or like.
Well, I took a comic book class.
Okay, fair enough.
It was, but I didn't want to do comics then, so I didn't pay attention to that class. So and here it is. When I tried to do it later, I forgot everything that they taught us, which made me do it in my own style. You know, old formal, like I'm gonna take classes to be a comic book artist. Like, it was just an elective that I took.
It's just elective you took. I got you.
Yeah, I was like, and I love reading comics, but I didn't want to do comics. Like, I didn't do comics.
But I really enjoyed seeing your growth, because seeing, like, you know, how DayBlack, you know, the first volume of DayBlack was, to then seeing how much you've grown, you know, with your composition, the way you draw, the way you ink, the way it's lettered, you know, and from Reparations, I think I thought it was amazing. It's pretty much your chronology, like, you know, your chronology, like how, like, you know, it's like tracking your growth. That was amazing. And you know, and not, because not gonna lie, fam, I'm just, you know, as artist, friend to friend, that added the lettering in in the DayBlack one was.
You can say it, man. I know.
The lettering in DayBlack, the first 2 volumes was a little rough. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little rough.
Very rough.
But shout out to, you know, World Design, you know, who's a renowned, you know, letterer. I really thought, you know, his lettering really complimented what you did in Reparations, for sure. But yeah, man, listen, man, I just want to know what's going on with part 2, man. What's happening with that? Because I thought Reparations part 2 was incredible. Part 1 was incredible. I thought it was incredible.
Thank you.
And I'm itching. I'm itching to know what can you tease for part 2, if you don't mind.
Man, all I can say is, because I'm in the middle of rewriting it now, just based off of the response that I got from the first one, and just trying to take that feedback into account. But it's really just we're really just gonna figure out, you know, what do I say without saying it? It's gonna be more of what you saw, as far as the same quality of art. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, with the lettering, I really wanted to, you know, like everything had evolved. Like my whole style, the color, the look, everything.
Absolutely.
Also, the lettering had to evolve with it. Yeah. So I've always prided myself in doing everything myself, but you know, you can't do everything yourself and keep the same quality. Sometimes you're gonna have to, you know, outsource. You can't do everything.
Absolutely.
And you can't do everything and have it at this exact same level that you needed to be. So that was a good thing for World, or that was a good thing that I reached out to them. But as far as this next volume goes, or this next issue goes, I'm really excited about it because I get to introduce Kason, who is my Jamaican vampire,
which is crazy. Yeah, I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, and we got an Jamaican clan of vampires that I have coming. So, man, I don't want to give away too much, but it's just going to be more of her story. It's going to be talking about how a vampire mother raises 2 human sons. You know what I'm saying? Until they are of age to where they are turned for a reason. And yeah, that's all I can really say, man. Is
I got you.
Still tweaking it right now. And when is it coming out? I don't know.
Hopefully soon.
Next year is probably more likely because I have a children's book I'm working on right now.
I got you.
But it's definitely in my sights, man. But it's really such an undertaking for me to do these books. And you know, I have a family, you know what I'm saying? So just
absolutely
time is becoming harder and harder to do as older. But it's gonna happen. That's what I can say.
That's what's up. Yeah.
Originally the goal was supposed to do the goal was gonna be I'm just gonna do volume 3 and just do a whole big graphic novel, but I knew that I wasn't gonna be done with that so I was like, let me just do single issues and like all of the DayBlack, like volume 1 and 2 are all compiled of like single issues. Because when I first got started, we were just selling single issues, and Bill was like, everybody's getting trades nowadays. Like everybody waits for the trades. So
I don't really buy single issues these days anymore.
Right.
Because too much space, you know, trades is easier. So
yeah. And plus the trades look better on the bookshelf, you know.
Absolutely. But yeah, man, listen, whenever you get it done, I'm buying it immediately, because I'm gonna, after again seeing your progress, seeing again, like, you know, how you evolved as an artist, you know, as a writer, you know, with Reparations. That's like, again, it's the best stuff I've seen from you, like, ever. Like I really, really enjoyed it. Again, we mentioned the coloring. Just the coloring is just And do you do your stuff digitally these days or no?
I do everything on Procreate.
Procreate? Yeah, it looked like it, because Procreate has, like, because I use Clip Studio, but like Procreate, I don't know what it is, but like when artwork's printed, like the colors on Procreate are so rich, and I love seeing it in Reparations, man. So yeah, whenever you get it done, listen, I'll wait. We'll all wait, you know. But we know it's gonna be dope. You know, we want you to cook, bro. We want you to cook.
Thank you, man.
All right, so last question I want to ask, right quick, man, is I know again, we talked about, you know, the short film you did, and obviously, you know, we talked about how, like, you know, you're clashing with Sinners a little bit, because a lot of people are, you know, comparing or asking you about Sinners, or making comparisons to what you've done with DayBlack to Sinners. Again, we know Sinners is great. We know that, right? But listen, this isn't about. We already did a 3-hour review for that. It isn't about Coogler. It's about you. All right. I know we talked off camera right after we finished the review that you had me have something in the works, and you told me, and I got excited. So you wanna talk about what you know, this project that you're gonna be working on with a big celebrity for DayBlack, or no?
Yeah. So recently Questlove reached out.
Crazy, man.
My showrunner, when DayBlack, because we initially had we were initially optioned by CBS in 2019, and that fell through, especially after the writer's strike happened. A lot of the people that were interested didn't come back from that, and they were no longer positions. So we were dealing with a whole new set of people that really weren't that interested in it. So that deal fell through. At the time, my showrunner, his name is Ola Shakumbi. Fun fact, he is also the new showrunner of Arcane season 3 coming out. So
season 3, okay.
Yeah. So we all thought it was said and done. I pretty much just, all right, like, I'm done. All right, let me just focus on the comic. That's not happening apparently right now. I'll pick it back up later and try to do it again, but let me focus on the comic. So Ola reaches out to me out of the blue, and he's like, "Hey, are you still trying to do anything with DayBlack?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, of course I am." So he was like, "Yeah." So he lives in LA, and he was like, "Yeah." So Questlove, he's just started this new scripted television film division, and they're looking for some material. And he was like, "I thought it'd be a great idea to pitch it to DayBlack, because they reached out to him in lieu of Sinners coming out to see if he had anything like that, because they knew it was going to be a hit, and they wanted something kind of in that same vein to kind of, you know, capitalize off of it." And of course, Ola was like, "Yeah, we got this. We already had the pilot written and everything." So right now, we are going back and forth with Questlove's team, trying to. We're writing the first pilot episode now, which is tricky because it's so political as far, not political, but it's so much that goes into it as far as what does the market want right now? What is easier to sell? Like I remember when we did with CBS, they told us dramas are hard to sell right now, so we need to punch up the comedy. So we ended up having to go back and making it a little lighter than it was, and even do you watch The Last of Us?
Absolutely. I just finished the new season.
Right. So a lot of people, and you play the game?
Yes.
So do you recognize how this Ellie is different from the game Ellie?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So everybody's mad, like, oh, she didn't even, she's nothing like the character. But what they don't realize is, or want to acknowledge is, so in the game, Ellie was like a lot more serious. She was a lot more like ruthless. She was more, this one is more brash, more like bratty, more like cracky.
Yeah, she's a lot snarky, yeah.
Right. But I read that the writer, he said, okay, so when you're doing television, you have to make somebody make things happen. Like they needed somebody that was gonna be the catalyst for shit to happen. So some action. So because the game is a lot slower paced than the show is, like a little bit more of a slow burn. So they needed to punch up the action a little bit. So they wanted Ellie to be the catalyst for a lot of things that made things happen quicker. So I understood that, even though I recognized she was different. I enjoyed it before I knew that. But when I read that, I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense, because you have to make those kind of decisions when you're doing TV, because it's a different format. So it's not just a cut scene. You know what I'm saying? Like this has to be thing throughout seasons. So anyway, all the way off subject, but right now we're just finding that balance in the script, and I've been through this so many times, like working with like high profile people, and then it may not come to fruition. Like I got a whole comic book with Tyra Banks that I don't even know if it's ever going to get released. I have a whole there's a movie called The Takeover coming out with Quavo from Migos and Billy Zane that I did for, and I don't even know if that's coming out. You know what I'm saying? But they have it paid for, so it's like after that, it's like, all right, well, I hope it comes out.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm at the point now where I don't get excited until I'm sitting in the movie theater, I'm seeing my name on the screen. Like right now, it's just kind of like, all right, well, this is what we're doing. I'm still working on DayBlack regardless. Whatever happens here, I'm working on this. So it's always a blessing to know that people are like somewhere in LA, somebody's working on DayBlack right now, trying to make it the best. That's always a great feeling. You know what I'm saying? And it's even better when they want you to be involved and they call you asking like, so what was this person doing? Or what, like I get calls like every week, like about a character or their motivations. Like it feels good to know that, you know what I'm saying? So fingers crossed. I'm always
I'm hoping.
Optimistic, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's just a safe way to be in this business, especially when
especially in Hollywood.
Especially in Hollywood. And the one thing I learned is, and anytime I was in a conference or I was on a Zoom call with people, is always intimidating, because you don't want to seem like you don't know. You don't want to seem like you're the dumbest person in the room, when you probably are when it comes to everything that's going on in the process. You know what I'm saying? So my goal was always to never come in there like a slack-jawed yokel. You know what I'm saying? Like I just didn't know what was going on. So, I'm trying to get my business up on that end, just trying to learn the business as much as I can in my spare time. And beyond that, that's all I could really say, man. Spoken to Questlove directly yet. I hope that happens.
I hope that happens, man. I mean, it's great that that he's interested. At least the fact he's even interested. It's crazy because I mean, I love Quest, just from the roots, but I loved his documentary Summer of Soul a lot. So I like how he's making waves and in production for film and TV, which is great. I think, and when we talk about this, just chatting, after we did this interview, but the fact that it just takes one successful Black project that is recognized by Hollywood for them now being like, okay, we gotta look for what's next on the plate. Like Sinners did it, Black Panther did it, Get Out did it,
And like literally, like Ola hit me. He was like, they're interested, but they want to go see Sinners first. They're gonna go see it this weekend. When they see it, they're gonna let us know if they see it and they like it and they feel like it's gonna hit. They're gonna let us know if they want to go ahead with it.
Yeah.
And literally the day after, they was like, "All right, we're doing it," because it was good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, man. I hope it work. I hope it works out. You know, but again, it's Hollywood. Like, you know, a lot of projects come and go. So, you know, don't. But I'm really hoping. I'm really hoping for you, bro. For real. One request though, when the opening credits roll and you get to see all the production company logos, you gotta put that fucking Keef Cross motion graphic that you put on your short film, because I love it. Like, I love it. Cause I'm a motion graphics artist too. So like literally, I'm just like, I love like the blood splatter and your logo reveals goes away, bro. I was like, you gotta add that in the pilot or whatever. If it's a movie or TV show, you gotta add that shit. You gotta advocate for that.
Because look, when I was with CBS, I had to fight to even get a producer credit, man. They were really trying to like screw me over, man. But this one, I think, I also had a lot of cooks in the kitchen. This is just me and my showrunner, so it's a lot more streamlined and lean. So I think that's also a lot more appealing. But yeah, man, I think I'm gonna have a lot more say-so and stuff like that.
Absolutely, man. And you ever even though it's pretty early now, y'all are screenwriters, you're also working on the script, but like you already have an idea of who you want to cast for Merce. Like I mean, you can't use Mos Def, so you have an idea.
Well, yeah, I got a Bible with like all my actors that I want. Definitely not gonna be Mos Def, but right now, the main people we like, or the main people, well, Questlove, they really want Lakeith Stansfield.
I was thinking him exactly when I thought of.
That's what they want, and I'm cool with that too. I like Lakeith too. My at first, my number one pick. Did you ever watch Vampire Diaries?
Kinda. My sister was a huge Vampire Diaries fan, so I was watching over her. But
so there's a black guy on there. His name is Yusef Gatewood, I think.
Was he in the originals?
I don't know. I didn't watch the show. I saw him. He was actually Umbrella Academy. He was the black girl's husband when they were like rights or something, civil rights activists or something.
Yeah. In season 2, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So he just really looked like Merce to me in the face, and that was my first pick. But but CBS was like, no, we need a big name because nobody really knows who he is. I was just going. That's just a little bit about being kind of naive to the business, where you really need to attach a big star to get stuff done. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just bust out the gate with an unknown for a property that's relatively unknown. You know what I'm saying? So
unless you're confident with the property, you know, if take that risk.
Right. So, but with a project like this, they really wanted to get ideally it would have been Donald Glover to be Merce. So if I had it would have been Donald Glover as Merce and Lakeith as Bryce. You know, because I feel like Lakeith more of a wild card, could really play off that eccentric, you know, crazy character, and Donald Glover could easily just be Merce. Just all you got to do to be Merce is be cool. Pretty much.
And I'm looking at like, you know, we had Donald Glover as a smooth voice when he was Lando once. Know what I mean?
Right.
Lakeith, I did not even think of Lakeith was Bryce. But I can see it. I don't know if you ever watched Death Note, like the Netflix like American version of Death Note. I don't know if you ever seen that.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Well, he was playing L, like, you know, like the detective who was trying to figure out who Kira was. Yeah, like seeing how he was a little loony in that in that performance, so I could kind of see that for Bryce. I didn't think of that. That's okay. That's what's up. But listen, Lakeith as Bryce or Merce, like I'm fine for, because I feel like with Merce, I feel like Lakeith could do that narration, like, you know, with his voice, you know what I mean? So Donald Glover too. So I mean, that's dope. But yeah, man. Just to close it out, any advice for any creators, any aspiring creators want to get into, you know, making comics, or I don't know what advice you got for them?
For any aspiring creators that want to get into comics, man. Whew. No, don't go into it with any expectations to get rich. You know, do it because you love it. Do it because you have a story to tell. Also, remember that there are no rules at all. You could really do, if you have consistency is the key. I think consistency and having something unique has been what's worked for me. I can't give too much advice because I still feel like I need so much advice myself. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like you ever stop learning. So, but yeah, be true to yourself. Always inject a little bit into yourself and what you're doing. I feel like because when you keep going back to it and it's a lot more familiar than you just totally stepping out into something that you don't really know about. You know, just from my experience. And yeah, stay the course. Don't be discouraged. You will hate your work. You will think you suck. You will think nobody is looking. You just got to push back. You got to push through all those feelings, man. And I think that's with art in general or writing in general. I never considered myself to be a writer until I had to write this book, you know. Then my first time writing, I won a Glyph Award for Best Writer, you know. So
as you should, man. As you should.
So yeah, that's all I can really say, man.
Fair enough. No,
Yeah.
that's pretty solid advice,
Cool.
man. But yo, Keef, man, listen, thank you so much for joining me. You know, getting to talk with you more, learn about who you are as a person, your work, you know, your plans, man. It's been a blessing and a privilege for real. Yo, so you want to let people know, you know, where they can find you know. So feel free to plug anything, you know.
Yeah.
Time.
Website dayblack.bigcartel.com. All my social media, Keef Cross. If you're in Atlanta, I will be at an event called Punk Black on June 7th, I believe, with DayBlack stuff.
I forgot that was an event. Crap, because I also love that. I also follow them too.
Punk. It's called Punk Black.
Yeah, Punk Black. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
No,
about.
Punk Black. All right.
Yeah.
Afro Punk. Afro Punk also covered DayBlack too, so that was cool.
That's what's up.
And what else I got going on? That's it so far. We're trying to put together a meet and greet. Oh yeah, I forgot. So if you're in Atlanta, next Wednesday we're having a Black Vampire meet and greet panel.
Nice.
It's going to be talking about basically kind of like what Sinners kind of introduced is as far as is being a vampire really a better alternative than just being black. You know what I'm saying? Especially back in those days. You
Absolutely.
know, really kind of just exploring that, like what was really, you know, if you were in the antebellum South or if you're around during Jim Crow, was being a vampire really a better option than just being a regular black person? You know, so we're going to talk about that and just talk about black vampires and pop culture in general. And we're probably going to be doing a screening of Sinners if it's out, because I know it's going to be streaming like.
It's going to be in digital soon.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know about next week though. But
right, so even if not, we're still going to be like screening like Blackula, like all the classic vampires. And we're going to have a panel discussion, and you know that is going to be at Benchwarmers in downtown Decatur from 5 to 9 every Tuesday, but every Wednesday. But this Wednesday it's going to be vampires. But if I have those dates wrong, just check me out on social media, and I'll be posting the flyer with all of the correct dates.
Absolutely. And I'll put all of his social media and the links to his stuff in the description below. And as always, people, thanks for everyone who are watching, who will watch this. We appreciate it. You know, like, subscribe, you know, hit the notification bell so you know when we're dropping new stuff, you know, and as always, get home safe. We love y'all, appreciate y'all, and we'll catch y'all later. All right. Peace.
Peace. Thank you.